If you're planning on building an off-grid or sustainable home, I bet you're really excited to get started. But where do you start? Should you start looking for land? Should you hire an architect? Should you decide on a floor plan? If you aren't sure the first step to take, you aren't alone. Sustainable homes have special considerations that most people don't understand. In fact, most architects and contractors don't understand the basics of sustainable and off-grid homes. Designing and building this type of home is not necessarily difficult, but most people get frustrated and overwhelmed trying to figure out which step to take first. Or they think they know where to start, but their first step ends up costing them thousands of dollars and a lot of frustration. In this video series, I'm going to let you in on the 3 most common and costly mistakes I see people make when they decide to build an off-grid or sustainable home. Hey, Christina here with more tips and advice to guide you to creating an off-grid or sustainable home you'll love without the typical frustration, overwhelm, and costly mistakes. If this is your first time here, then make sure to hit the big subscribe button and click the bell to make sure you get notified when I launch a new video. The number 1 and probably the most costly mistake is purchasing property without understanding what features to look for in a piece of land that will support your sustainable or off-grid goals. An efficient home must be designed to work with nature and the site, and that takes some extra care, awareness, and some knowledge. It's devastating to purchase an expensive property only to find out that it doesn't have enough sun exposure to passively heat, or that the county it's in doesn't allow features you're planning on incorporating, such as water catchment, gray water gardens, or a composting toilet. It's not only financially devastating, but just as important, you may find that you won't be able to build the home you truly want. The best way to avoid those costly mistakes is to learn about the essential systems of a sustainable home, and then prioritize which ones you really want to incorporate into your house and which ones maybe would be nice but you don't have to have if you found the perfect piece of property. For example, if you want to incorporate passive solar heating and cooling into your home, then there's some really specific things you need to look for in a piece of land. The first thing is you need to have solar exposure from about 9 in the morning until 3 in the afternoon during the heating season in your area. The other thing is you want to make sure that there's a place on that site where you can actually place the long side of your house facing almost exactly due south, within a few degrees. Now there's another thing you might really want to look for in a piece of land if you want to heat and cool your house for free, and that is a gently sloping site facing south. This will allow you to berm your home. And if you berm your house, then that means it will never freeze and you will have much easier control over regulating the temperature in your house. If you're choosing to build off-grid, then you're most likely going to have to generate all of your own power. Now, if you want to reduce your electric bill or reduce your power bill and still be on the grid, you might want to incorporate some clean energy. And that depends on where you are, in what climate you have. But let's start with solar panels. If you want to use the sun to generate your power, then you need to make sure that you have a place on your site where you can have your solar panels facing south again, and that they have sun from at least 9 in the morning to 3 in the afternoon during the winter season. Now, if you don't live in an area that has enough sun to generate all your power, you might want to consider a wind turbine. And in that case, when you're looking for property, you want to make sure you understand where the wind flows are and the direction of the prevailing winds on that property. Now, if you want to incorporate some hydropower, then you're going to want to also look on that property and see if you have enough water, say a stream or water source. And does that stream or water source, does that flow all year round, or is it seasonal? So those are some things to look out for when you want to generate clean power and what you need to look for on the building site. So if one of your priorities is building with non-toxic materials and you want to use some natural and may not be as conventional type of building materials, then you need to contact the building department in the county that you want to build and make sure what you'll need in order to get that kind of home approved. Are you going to need to hire an engineer? Are you going to need to hire an architect? And are there other buildings like that being built in that county? And if you do want to build with those natural building materials, you want to look for property that might have potential soil that you can use for natural plasters or for making earth blocks. And this potentially could save you a lot of money. Look for other resources that are on your property. Are there decorative rocks that you can incorporate into your design? Is there some lumber that you might be able to use on the property? Are you going to have to remove some trees in order to get that sun exposure? And can you reuse those trees in your home? On our building site here at Twisted Oak, before the bulldozer came to prepare the site for the build, we just went and hand-picked all these beautiful lichen rocks that were just laying on the ground, and we piled them up, and we reused those in the hearth and in the rock walls that are surrounding Twisted Oak. Now, if you have rocks or decorative rocks for landscaping, that can save you a ton of money. If you ever go to a landscaping yard and look at the price of rocks, you'll really appreciate the ones that you have on your property. Another thing I would consider looking at is the location of your building site relative to the resources you're going to need. For example, how far away is the gravel pit? How far away is getting concrete? Or how far away is the lumber yard? Because in this day and age, delivery costs can cost far more than even the materials, especially when you're talking about bringing in dirt or gravel or soils. Water on a piece of property is another really important thing to be looking into and can drive up the cost of your build very quickly. So first of all, if you want to try and harvest water and use it for your domestic use, then the first thing you're going to want to ask is it legal in your county or in your state? In Colorado here, it's very tricky to get a water harvesting permit. Now, if you can't get a water harvesting permit or you don't want to bother to catch your water, then you really want to look into what it would cost to drill a well on your property and what kind of water there is available. For instance, up here where we live, you can drill a well, but none of the wells up here really produce clean, potable water. So many people have to haul in their water as well as pay for a well to be drilled. If incorporating a composting toilet into your design is really important to you, then I urge you, before you buy a piece of property, to contact the agency in charge of permitting septic systems and ask if they actually will allow a composting toilet in your circumstance on your piece of property. The same goes for a gray water planter. You'll want to contact most likely your health department and find out if they'll allow gray water usage in your area and your property. And whether or not you want to incorporate a composting toilet and gray water garden into your design, you'll want to find out about the soils and about the type of septic system that you may be forced to put in on your property. So even if you have a gray water system, some counties may still expect you to put in a septic system. So find out what other people are doing in that area and see what kind of systems are common. For instance, up here on our mountain, we have what we call very low perk rates, which means that anybody wanting to design a septic system in this area needs to have a very expensive engineered septic system. So that's something you want to know going into the project. If you find a property you really love and you think it will support your sustainable, personal, and financial goals, then make sure you do your research before you spend any money. Finding out after the fact that you're trying to build a home on a site without adequate sun exposure or in a county resistant to your goals can create enormous frustration, stress, and disappointment. No one wants to find out that they can't build the home they want. I have 2 free guides that will help you if you're considering building or looking for property. The first guide is the 6 Essentials of a Sustainable Home. This free download will give you the basics of the features you may want to incorporate into your home, and it will help you determine what you need to look for in a piece of property. The second guide is a free download that will lead you through the specific questions you need to ask when looking for land. This worksheet lays out the questions most people wouldn't even know to ask. Going through this detailed checklist will save you from the financial disaster of buying land that won't support the home you're dreaming of. You'll find the links to both of these free guides in the description down below. I know that anyone who puts their mind to it can build a sustainable home. Choosing a building site that supports your dreams and designing a home consciously and efficiently, either on the grid or off the power grid, can drastically reduce your building expenses, utility bills, and your impact on the planet. Help me help you by leaving me a comment. Tell me what kind of videos would help you accomplish your dream of living in a self-sustaining or off-grid home. I post a video every Saturday morning, so stay tuned for more videos on designing, planning, and building your off-grid or sustainable home.